Hello, this is the problem solving video for lecture 6. Let's review some concepts first. So we'll use the variables N and P to denote in general the carrier concentration in a material. We'll use N naught and P naught to denote the equilibrium carrier concentrations, while we'll use delta N and delta P to denote the excess carrier concentration in a material. N naught and P naught is mostly based on the doping concentrations and temperature. And as the perturbations change in a material, N, P, delta N, and delta P changes, but N naught and P naught does not change in cases we'll consider in this course. Also, N, P, N naught, and P naught are always greater than or equal to 0, meaning they can only be positive or 0, whereas delta N and delta P can be negative. The equation that ties all these variables up is this: N is equal to N naught plus delta N, which means that the electron concentration in a material is simply the sum of the equilibrium carrier concentration plus any excess carrier concentration. For P, we have P is equal to P naught plus delta P. We have also described the low-level injection condition where for our semiconductors, the majority carrier concentration must not be affected significantly. Thus, we have for N-type, N is approximately N naught and P is approximately P naught. And for this to happen, for N-type, the absolute value of delta N must be much less than N naught, while for P-type, the absolute value of delta P must be much less than P naught. Note that so far we have not stated any limit to the minority carrier concentration, and we'll just use for now the majority carrier concentrations as the sole basis for low-level injection. Now, for indirect semiconductors such as silicon and germanium, under LLI conditions, the net change of carrier concentrations due to Rg is as shown. Note that the expressions only describe the thermal Rg for the minority carriers. So for N-type, we have delta P over delta T for the indirect thermal Rg to be given by negative delta P over tau P. For P-type, we have for minority carriers, delta N over delta T for indirect thermal Rg to be equal to negative delta N over tau N, where tau is the minority carrier lifetime. Note that for indirect thermal Rg under LLI conditions, the net rate of Rg is dictated by the excess minority carrier concentration. For the first problem, we have a piece of P-type silicon at room temperature with a doping of Na is equal to 10 to the 15 was perturbed from its thermal equilibrium state such that a deficit of 10 raised to 4 electron hole pairs was detected. So we have to answer what are the equilibrium carrier concentrations, what are the excess carrier concentrations, what are the carrier concentrations, and is this low-level injection? So we summarize first the information we can extract from the given. So we have a P-type silicon at room temperature, Na is equal to 10 to the 15, and there is a deficit of 10 to the 4 per cubic centimeter of electron hole pairs. For the first question, what are the equilibrium carrier concentrations? So these are the carrier concentrations when there is no perturbation or the material is at thermal equilibrium, and therefore we will have to disregard the given deficit of electron hole pairs. So if we assume that the material is in thermal equilibrium, given that it is a silicon with a doping concentration of 10 to the 15. And note that none is mentioned about the donor dopant concentration, so we'll assume that ND is equal to 0. Next, we note that the given Na 10 to the 15 is much greater than Ni, which is 10 to the 10 for silicon at room temperature, and therefore we can proceed with the approximation for p-type semiconductors, where P is approximately Na, but this time we have to be specific that instead of P, we have to write it as P naught is approximately Na, which is 10 to the 15. So next, we solve for the equilibrium minority carrier concentration, N naught, using the law of mass action. So N naught is equal to Ni squared over N naught. So, sorry, that should be P naught. So 10 to the 10 squared over 10 to the 15 squared is 10 to the 20 over 10 to the 15, and that should give us N naught is equal to 10 to the 5 per cubic centimeters. So we are already able to determine N naught and P naught. The next question is, what are the excess carrier concentrations? So we now go back to the actual given where there is a deficit of 10 to the 4 electron hole pairs. So know that from the given, it actually states that there is a deficit of 10 to the 4 electrons and a deficit of 10 to the 4 holes. Therefore, we have the same deficit for electrons and holes, and thus delta P is equal to delta N is equal to negative 10 to the 4 per cubic centimeters. So it is negative since we are given that this 10 to the 4 is a deficit. So here we write the information we obtained so far. So we have P naught, N naught, delta N, and delta P. The next question is, what are the carrier concentrations? So this time we are asked for N and P. So for P, given using the values we obtained for P naught and delta P, we just need to add P naught plus delta P. So that would be 10 to the 15 plus negative 10 to the 4. But 10 to the 4 is much smaller compared to 10 to the 15, and therefore we'll just get P to be approximately 10 to the 15 per cubic centimeters. As for N, we need to add N naught and delta N. So N naught is 10 to the 5 and delta N is negative 10 to the 4. So we'll get N to be equal to 9 times 10 to the 4. Note that negative 10 to the 4 or delta N is quite near to N naught in this case. So the next question, is this low-level injection? Now, we need to be clear that for this problem, we are considering a p-type material, and for low-level injection, we have defined it as the scenario where the majority carrier concentration is not perturbed significantly. Thus, for p-type, the absolute value of delta P must be much less than P naught, and we have delta P to be equal to negative 10 to the 4. Its absolute value is 10 to the 4, while P naught is 10 to the 15. And based on these values, we can say that yes, the absolute value of delta P is much less than P naught. And actually, we have shown in this slide another form of the LLI condition where P must be approximately P naught. So yes, this is low-level injection. So as a summary of the answers, we were able to compute the equilibrium carrier concentrations based on Na and the given material and temperature. Next, we were able to deduce the excess carrier concentrations based on the given that we have a deficit of 10 to the 4 electron hole pairs. Using these values, we were able to get N and P, and by comparing P and P naught and delta P, we were able to deduce that this case is low-level injection. So note that from the values, we can see that the majority carrier concentration is not affected significantly. For problem 2, we have a sample of silicon doped with 10 to the 16 per cubic centimeter of arsenic, has a recombination lifetime of 1 microseconds, and this sample is exposed to light continuously such that electron hole pairs are generated throughout the sample at a rate of 10 to the 20 per cubic centimeter per second while at room temperature. So the questions are, what are P naught and N naught? What are delta P and delta N at steady state? Note that at steady state, the carrier concentrations does not change anymore in time. We'll use that piece of information as we solve the problem. So third, what are the values of P and N still at steady state? And what is the value of the NP product at steady state? Note that the NP product can be very different from Ni squared, since NP is equal to Ni squared only when the material is in thermal equilibrium. And for this problem, extra electron hole pairs are generated due to light, and therefore the material is not in thermal equilibrium. Note also that for the first question, there is no at steady state phrase because P naught and N naught are already defined for thermal equilibrium, which is at steady state. We summarize first the important pieces of information from the given. So we have a silicon sample. We now note that Nd is equal to 10 to the 16. Since arsenic atoms are donor dopants. It is also mentioned in the problem that the material is in room temperature. For the next one, we are given that the recombination lifetime is 1 microsecond, so that is tau, although specifically we'll denote that as tau p since the recombination lifetime is actually the minority carrier recombination lifetime. And for this N-type material, the minority carriers are holes. Also, electron hole pairs are generated due to light at a rate of 10 to the 20 per cubic centimeter per second. So first, what are the values of P naught and N naught? So again, these are the values at thermal equilibrium. So we'll disregard first the given that electron hole pairs are generated due to light. So we'll assume that no electron hole pairs are generated due to light first. To solve this problem, we note that Nd is much greater than Ni, since Ni is 10 to the 10 for silicon at room temperature. And so we can proceed and say that N naught is simply approximately equal to Nd, which is 10 to the 16. We can now solve for P naught using the law of mass action, Ni squared over Nd. So 10 to the 20 over 10 to the 16 will give us 10 to the 4. And now we'll just use a variable GL to denote this generation due to light. Okay, so GL is equal to 10 to the 20 per cubic centimeters per second. We also write here the values we solved so far. So N naught is approximately ND, and P naught is around 10 to the 4. So for the second question, what are the values of delta P and delta N at steady state? However, note that when we say that the material is at steady state, it means that the carrier concentrations already do not change in time. So steady state does not mean thermal equilibrium. The material can be perturbed, but its carrier concentrations can be at steady state. So what does this mean? Equation-wise, we can write that the change of the carrier concentrations with respect to time must be equal to 0. And since there is no other phenomenon that can change our carrier concentrations in time except for Rg, then we'll just equate delta P over delta P with delta P over delta P for Rg. Now note that this Rg here already combines the Rg due to the indirect thermal recombination and also this generation due to light. So this term right here already includes the generation due to light and indirect thermal Rg. So now why do we say indirect thermal Rg? Because this is silicon, which is an indirect semiconductor, and we have already said that the dominant Rg mechanism for silicon is indirect thermal Rg. It just happens that for this case, we add another factor to consider, which is the generation due to light. And that actually holds true for both N and P. However, if you look back at our lecture, we have actually defined the indirect thermal Rg under LLI conditions only for minority carriers. So we actually have an expression for that, but only for minority carriers. Now, since we are dealing with an N-type semiconductor, then we can focus first on the delta P or the excess minority carrier concentration. Now, the net change in minority carrier concentration with respect to time is now a function of both the indirect thermal Rg and the generation due to light. And since we are dealing with a problem at steady state, again, its sum must be equal to 0. Okay? So now, this expression right here that we are referring to is for this term right here. And we have explained that that term is equal to this minus delta P over tau P. And for the generation due to light, we just denote that as this GL. Now, again, at steady state, their sum must be equal to 0. We know the value of GL and we know the value of tau P from the given, and therefore we can compute the value for delta P. So for this case, delta P is simply given by GL tau P, which is 10 raised to 20 times 1 times 10 raised to minus 6, because this is in microseconds. So GL tau P must be equal to 10 to the 4 per cubic centimeters. Now, why did we equate delta P to delta N? So we know that indirect thermal RG happens in pairs, and generation due to light also happens in pairs. So whatever the excess for the um, minority carrier concentration P must also be the excess for the majority carrier concentration. However, we cannot write that the delta P over delta P for indirect thermal RG for majority carriers to be equal to negative delta N over tau N. That is not a valid expression for this case. Okay, so we summarize here the new information we obtained so far, and that is delta N and delta P to be equal to 10 to the 14. So the next question is what is P and N at steady state? So note that these values delta N and delta P were computed to be the values at steady state. And since N naught and P naught does not change, then P would simply be equal to P naught plus delta P, and that is 10 to the 4 plus 10 to the 14, which is approximately 10 to the 14. Now for N, we have 10 to the 16 plus 10 to the 4, 10 to the 14, which gives us 1.01 times 10 to the 16. Next question is, what is NP at steady state? So we'll just have to multiply N and P, which is 10 to the 14 and 1.01 times 10 to the 16, and be able to get this value, 1.01 times 10 to the 30. Now note that the NP product can be very different from Ni in this case, where the material is not in thermal equilibrium. So we use NP, again we use NP is equal to Ni squared only when the material is in thermal equilibrium. So this case, there's generation due to light, it is not in thermal equilibrium, then NP is not Ni squared. So in summary, we were able to obtain these answers. We obtained the equilibrium carrier concentrations based on the doping concentration, the material, and the temperature. So we need the temperature to be able to use 10 raised to 10. Next, we compute delta P and delta N to be equal, and we use the details regarding the perturbation that is being described in the problem, where there is generation due to light, GL is equal to 10 to the 20, and while excess carriers are being generated due to light, some of the carriers are recombining along the way until we are able to achieve a steady state value. Now we solve P and N based on P naught, N naught, delta P, and delta N by simply summing them. And we're able to get these values. Now from this, we simply multiply them to get the NP product, which we have shown to be quite different from Ni squared, since this sample right here is not in thermal equilibrium. Okay, so that's it for this problem solving video. Thank you very much.